So I'm sure you're wondering at this point, can we start programming yet? Well, to this I say, not quite yet, but we are getting closer, and you're going to actually do some programming in this thing. Okay, so if you've followed the steps up to now, you should be, everything should be installed, everything should be working. We may be doing some troubleshooting later on if that doesn't work out. So let's get started. This video is going to be about the CLI, or as it's actually properly known, the command line interface. Okay. First off, the idea of the command line interface is that if you can use the command line, you can use anything. You can use any computer. You can do anything you like. We're going to start off by talking about the command line interface. Here is the command line interface. This is the command line interface. My name is Mark Red, if you haven't noticed, but here we're going to talk about how the command line interface works. Now, okay, so you can see that I'm actually in a particular path right now. Now you'll notice that this path happens to correspond to documents. You'll see I have documents, programming, Python right here. So I'm going to go into programming. You know what? We're going to make a new folder. Okay, folder is going to be... Okay, so now we should be able to see what's going on here. And I've made this really big so for ease of viewing, but here's how this works. Okay, so people, when you open up your PowerShell or whatever, you're going to see this little prompt. Now, you got to understand, there was a time way back when this is how you dealt with a computer. You didn't have a mouse, you didn't have a start menu, you didn't have any of this stuff. All you had were these typity types, okay? All you had was this stuff, and you just had a prompt, and you had to work with it. So, we're going to learn how to use a computer in this way because this is how programmers do it. This is how real programmers, so if they know what they're doing, really work. Now, there's all sorts of stuff that's built on top of this, but when you're learning, I want you to understand how the computer works. And this is part of understanding how the computer works. You know, guys, I get really distracted when I make some of these videos, but sorry, let's get back to business. Where were we? Right. Introduction, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, first things first. Okay, first things first. You all need to understand how to open the command line. So I'm going to demonstrate this, hopefully for Windows 10 and Linux. Now, I have specific instructions for Mac, but I do not own a Mac, and I'm doing my best to try to make this accommodate Mac people, but there might be some things you might just have to figure out on your own until I can get access to a Mac and fill in the blanks. But I'm going to do my best anyway. So here's what we're going to do. First, on Windows 10, this is very easy. You have a, you know what, hold on a sec. Right. You have a computer, if you have a Windows or a Linux machine, you probably have a keyboard that looks something like this. Now, if you can see my cursor, you have all your letters and stuff. And if you're in a foreign language keyboard, it's going to be somewhat similar too. In any case, you probably will have a key down here. It's called the Win key. It'll have a little Windows logo on it, or it'll have some other logo on it. It's also referred to as the Super key, and I'm probably going to call it the Super key or the Windows key, just depending on what we're doing. But just remember that you have this key. Now, in Windows, if you were to, for example, press that key, you'll notice that the start menu pops up. That's kind of cool, right? Well, in this case, if you press the Windows key and hold down the Windows key and press X, you get another context menu. If you then let that go and then press the I key, you get a PowerShell window. Now, this is the Windows command line. This is what we're going to be using anyway. There's another command line called CMD. We're not going to get into that. It's beyond the scope of what we're doing here to worry about the CMD line, the command line, the CMD, what's it called in Windows. The important thing to know is that this is our CLI interface that we'll be using in Windows. And this is going to be where I'm going to be doing most of the demonstrations. Now, if you happen to be using Linux, it's a little different. It's just called the terminal. And most of the time, you can either get it by pressing Windows key T, or you can use Control-Alt-T, just depending on what kind of Linux you're using. Try both of those. You should get something that looks approximately like this. You know what? Now that I think about it, I want to make this bigger too. You should get something that looks something like this. Now, I'm using Windows Subsystem for Linux on Windows. Don't worry too much about that. The point is it should look something like this. It should have a little prompt. You'll notice the little prompt up here has like a username and this sort of stuff and blah, 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 blah. And then it has a $sign. The $sign is very important. That's actually your prompt. You can actually customize that in Linux, and you can do it on Windows too. But the point is on Windows, you have a little I guess that's a greater than sign, a little closed bracket of some sort. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of names for these things, and I'm not going to get too hung up on terminology here. The point is you have this roughly arrow-shaped thing in Windows, and in Linux you have in Linux you have a $sign. Now, I don't want you all to get too hung up on these things. The prompts are largely the same, but if you see that little arrow sign or you see the dollar sign, that basically means the end of the prompt is where you can start typing. And you can type in things, and if you press enter, it'll try to run a command or whatever command you think. So the idea is that you can run commands by typing them in, such as echo cheese, and you press enter, and you'll notice it says cheese. And so basically what echo, in the case of echo just says print out this to the screen and then be done and give me another prompt. Same thing in Windows. I think you can type echo cheese and you get cheese also, okay? So that's kind of the way this thing works. It's basically, it prompts you, you type stuff, you press enter, and that was nothing, so whatever. And oh, by the way, so just so you know, if you ever want to clear the screen, you just type clear. That also works in the Linux terminal, clear. We're going to go over the most important commands so that you understand how this all works. Okay, so yeah, so we're going to focus on the Windows terminal, but if there's any differences in the Linux terminal, I will show those to you. So, now you'll notice I have a little Explorer window up here. Now, you'll notice that this whole path here is, I'm in C, users, mark red, documents, programming, red Python. Now, right now, I'm only in C, users, mark red, so we would like to learn, first off, how to find out where we are and how to find out where we're going. Now, sometimes they give you a little hint, like they'll say, this is where you are. But the way you find out where you are, if you don't have that, is you type in pwd, print working directory. And it'll say, oh, look, this is where you are, path. Okay, so print working directory. Now, again, like I said, this works exactly the same in Linux. pwd, boom. The next thing that we want to do is, now that we kind of know where we are, you can figure out where you are. The next thing we want to do is figure out how to move around. Basically, in the Explorer window, you can move around by finding different places and double-clicking on them and finding different stuff. So in my case, we're trying to navigate to the red Python folder. Now, you can put your Python stuff wherever you like. I do not care. Go nuts. In these videos, you'll probably find that I'm putting them in lots of different places, but I would recommend that you keep all your Python files in one place so that you can keep them all nice and organized. But since we have to get to this thing, first thing that we have to do is we have to navigate there. So now the way we navigate is we use the command cd, which is change directory. Now, you have to specify what directory you want to change to, because if you just press cd, nothing's going to happen. Now, we're going to start by saying change directory. Oh, actually, first thing we want to do is we want to figure out what's around us, okay? So let's figure out what's in this folder. So if we type in ls, that means list the contents of this directory. Well, that's not very useful. This is very big. All right. Now, if you look, you can scroll up and down. You can see here's all the different things that are in this folder. And you'll notice we are trying to find documents, programming, red Python. This is where we're at. So now we'll type in change directory space to. Most of the time in Linux, these are case sensitive. In Windows, it's not. Don't worry too much about it. You usually can type capital DOC and press tab, and it'll autocomplete for you because it knows that documents is already there. Same thing with Linux. You can do the same thing. And that applies not only to documents but to anything. Suppose we want to navigate to .android. We can do that too. We can type in .an, and it'll figure out the rest. So now, I think it bears noting here that when you are navigating, it's actually pretty interesting. You can see, okay, autocomplete. You'll notice it put two little slashes on either side. That's to say that this is a folder, and the dot is just a relative term that just says dot is where I am right now. And if I want to move somewhere else, I can move in relation to where I am right now / wherever else I want to go. So that means that's nice because it means you don't have to put in the C users mark red every single time. You can just say where I am right now plus whatever's on top of it. So we're going to navigate into documents, and we're going to see what's in documents. Oh, look at all this stuff that's in documents. Now we're going to go to programming here. So we're going to go cd programming tab, and look, it filled out programming for us. We're going to press enter. Now we're going to say ls again. What's in this folder? Oh, look at all this stuff. Let's see what's in this folder. We've now LS'd into this. We've CD'd into this folder, and then we now have ls and listed out everything that's here. And look, we red Python. That was our target to begin with. So now we're going to go, and you'll notice it's got all this other stuff. This is just like the type of stuff it is, and the permissions and all that other stuff. You don't need to worry too much about that. The important thing is just to look at the name. Red Python's where we're going, so we're going to cd red Python. Okay, now there's nothing in this folder, so that's why nothing came up here. So we're going to clear, and we'll move on to the next section here. So, okay, now that we're in the red Python folder, the next step is to now work in this folder. Now, there's a few things we can do in this folder. We can, like our thing, we can do these sorts of things. We can say new folder, and we can name it cheese, whatever. I like the word cheese a lot. So now if you ls, you'll notice that cheese has now been put into this folder. And if we were to go in here and we were to delete cheese, we would find that it's no longer there. So how do we do that in the command line? Well, it's pretty easy. There's this command. If you want to make a directory or make a new folder, you say make directory, mkdir, make directory. And then we're going to call this directory cheese. Now, if you want to put a long thing with spaces in it, you can say cheese and crackers. Boom, cheese and crackers is there. And now we can cd into cheese and crackers. And you'll notice it put quotes around it because it's got spaces, and spaces is how it, using spaces is how it delimits different things that you're telling it to do. So if it puts things in quotes, it's like, oh, just treat that as one thing, disregard any spaces inside those quotes. So now we'll notice that there's not anything in cheese and crackers. Let's go ahead and put a file in here. Now, to make a file, we're going to say, in Windows, we're going to say new item. New item is just how we make a new file. And we're going to call that file, we're going to make a file called, well, let's make a Python file. So we're going to make the Python file called hello.py. Now, this section right here, this .py section, that's called an extension. And it's just a way that we all can figure out what the program is for and what it's supposed to do. And we can tell it's a Python file because we ought to add .py to the end of it. If we were to add nothing, we would just get a empty file that's called hello, and we don't know what it's for. And if you'll notice, if we look at Windows, if we go into cheese and crackers, hello is a file. If you try to open it, it has no idea what to do with it. So you have to assign something to do with it. And the nice thing is, though, if we were to go then and say, let's go ahead and delete hello, though. So if we were to say remove, rm is remove, hello, we'll notice it's empty again. Now let's go ahead and make a new item. And we're going to call it hello.py. Now, if you've installed Python on your system, you'll notice that hello.py, oh, the computer knows what to do. That's a Python file. And if you try to run it, it'll open a Python program, which is very fast and very random. But the point is, it's there. Now that we've made a new Python file, we can say, okay, good, we're done here. We can now go in and add code and figure out what we want to do, because that's essentially just a text file. And once we're ready to get rid of it, or if we want to delete it, we can say remove hello.py. Now, in Linux, this is all largely the same, the only difference being that when you, instead of if you type in new item, it has no idea what you're talking about. So you have to use a different command called touch, and we're going to call touch hello.py. And then if you look, you can see, whoops, let's see, where are you? Oh yeah, there you are, hello.py. Boom, there it is. And then if you want to remove hello.py, you say remove. And it's always a good idea to say, I want to remove a file. So you put in the F thing to specify a file, but we can just say hello.py, and hello.py is gone. But yeah, and then so touch is the Linux command, and Windows is new item. Do not get those confused, or else you're gonna have a lot of trouble. Now that we've removed hello.py, this is an empty directory again. We're gonna go ahead and go back. Now you notice what I did there. Okay, when I went into cheese and crackers, cheese and crackers was an empty folder, but cheese and crackers, there was nowhere to go up. I could only go down. So to go down, use the relative parent folder code, which is cd dot is where I am, dot is the immediate parent folder. So in the case of cheese and crackers, the immediate parent folder is red Python. So you say dot means go to the next one up in the tree. So we're going to go ahead and press enter. And now we're back to red Python. So if we were to check where we are, that's where we would find we are. And we notice we still have this empty directory, cheese and crackers, which we just checked was empty. Now, if we want to delete cheese and crackers, what we would do is we'd say remove directory. Now, we don't just remove it, remove directory, because we want to only remove directories that are empty. It's a security feature, so you don't mess with anything, so you don't accidentally mess something up. Now, in Now, in the folder structure, this is never really that big of a deal because it's easy enough just to delete and move things around, and it keeps track of all this stuff for you. Back in these days, it wasn't so simple. And you might find that you won't do this too often. You'll probably be mostly working in this space. But I want you to know that this exists and how to do it. So if we were to say remove directory cheese and crackers, boom, no big deal. Now let's go back and say, by the way, if you want to do previous commands you've already run, you just press the up key and it'll remember a whole bunch of commands that you've already done. So we're going to go ahead and remake that directory, and we're going to go ahead and move into that directory, and we're going to make something. We're going to go new item, and we're going to call it hello.py. Hello.py. Can't type today. Okay, we're going to get out of here, and now we're going to try to remove the directory with a file in it. Okay, you'll notice it's warning us. It says, are you sure you want to do this? And we're going to say yes, yes to all, which will delete everything, and it'll warn us. Now, in Linux, it's a little bit different. Linux is actually a little bit more, let's say, anal about this sort of thing. If cheese and crackers, I'm going to use underscores just for simplicity's sake. We're going to cd cheese and crackers. We'll notice that we're in cheese and crackers, and we're going to touch hello.py. Okay, hello.py is in there. Okay, we're going to go get out of there. And if you notice, cheese and crackers is right. Man, it's hard to see with this blue, but cheese and crackers is right there. So now if we try to say remove directory cheese and crackers, oh, directory's not empty. So if we go ahead and remove cheese and crackers hello, and then if we look into cheese and crackers, which you can always look into stuff without going into it just by specifying where you want to look. Okay, it's empty now. So now if we say remove directory, notice that cheese and crackers is now gone. It's all gone. So now if we go back into here, now I'm hoping that you're pausing and trying this stuff out for yourself as we're going along here. So feel free to do that as we're going. So as you've seen before, we've moved around with relative paths, and it's very useful to perhaps if you want to access my mark red folder, let's go ahead and ls ... So let's see what happens when that happens. So if we were to ls this one, that would ls programming documents, and I think we're going to need two more ... And you'll notice directory C uses mark red. We've been able to do that by relative paths. And that's actually pretty crazy because even if we're in this thing, we can actually go access stuff like, let's say we want to go access the download folder. We could go ls ... downloads. So now we're going to go ahead and see what's in the downloads folder, and there's a whole bunch of junk in here. So these are just the commands you need to get around. Now let's suppose that we have a little Python program, okay, which I'm going to write right now. Okay, so now that we've skipped ahead, I've now written a Python program. You can see that it has a length bigger than 0. It's just hello.py, and what I've written it to do is all it does is it calls the same functionality as this. It says echo hello. It says hello, okay? Now, echo is a specific program that's called, and you say hello to it. It's just how it works. Now, suppose we want to call the hello Python program. Well, the way we do that is we say Python. Now, in some versions of Linux, you may have to type Python 3. If you get errors, try typing Python 3, and then the name of the script. Okay. So Python 3 hello py works, and then Python. But in Windows, you only need to write Python. Works still the same. This is just how this works in all the systems. It'll always work the same. You type in Python and you type in hello.py. this is how you're going to be running most of your programs. You're just going to type out a program in code and you're going to try running it by typing Python hello py.py. And in the next lesson, we are going to go into how you actually write this program, and we're going to start by just saying hello like you see here. So, see you in the next video. Leave a like and consider subscribing if you like this content, and I will continue putting this up. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.